Hi guys, thank you very much for having us here. I'm genuinely fascinated to have this conversation because I think we are in a fascinating kind of inflection point in media. What happened in the 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s with TV taking over radio, I think that's what's happening with digital media to TV now. And just before I properly speak to these guys, to put into context just the size of YouTube, the impact of what these guys have done. So YouTube Shorts started 5 years ago. And since then, they've amassed 5 trillion views. And when you hear that kind of number, it just gets a little bit lost. So I did a calculation last night. 5 trillion in seconds would be 160,000 years. To go back in time that amount of time would be the mid to upper Paleolithic era. It is implausible what these guys have done, and they're very much powerhouses, the new Hollywood 2.0. So we have Amelia Dimoldenberg and Hugo Travers, not Travers, I was worried about the pronunciation of your surname. And Hugo, I'll come to yourself first. You are in the Oval Office. Donald Trump is there, and you speak to him. How does that happen?
I mean, I just feel like you just have to. First of all, it's a huge pleasure to be here. So thank you so much. I just felt like I had to try and ask a few questions at a time. I knew like it was an opportunity for me to ask a few questions to the American president, and I was part of the French press delegation. So all the media who were like covering the meeting between Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump a few weeks ago, and during the flight to Washington, I was like, I've got to try and ask a question. And the thing is, I guess some of you may know, like how it works in the Oval Office is, I mean, there's not like a schedule and like each person have their question. You just have to try and like, put your question and hope that like, the president or, Emmanuel Macron or Donald Trump will take the question. So I was like, I've got to try. I know I won't be there, every day. So I've got to try and ask a question. And I was lucky enough to get an answer. Not the best answer, but at least an answer.
And you say lucky, but it's a tough gig because as he's finishing what he's saying, if you let any silence happen, someone else is going to jump in.
Yeah.
But it's also Donald Trump. And so the moment he's kind of finishing whatever it is he's saying, you can actually almost hear on the microphone, Mr. Trump, and you got it in there.
Yeah, you're like, everyone's sort of fighting to get their question through. And so we were there with other journalists, French journalists. I think I was the only content creator in the room, but it was a good, I had to try and ask a question. And I did then sort of a long form report on my YouTube channel covering what we'd seen in Washington. We had also a small interview of Emmanuel Macron on the way back. And so, I tried to just understand what was happening at the time over there.
And Amelia, with Chicken Shop Dates, you wouldn't necessarily think there'd be much crossover in terms of Donald Trump and with what you do, but actually, you not only had a couple of amazing offers, you turned them down. What were they?
Oh, just Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but, I was busy. But from the Oval Office to the Chicken Shop, both very glamorous locations, but I'm going to stick to interviewing Cher, I think.
A part of what you do is there's an element of awkwardness intentionally. How genuinely awkward would it have been being sat there with Joe Biden?
Well, I'm not sure how the conversation would have gone, but I feel like maybe I think that for me, awkwardness is such a part of life. I think everyone has had awkward interactions and feels awkward sometimes. And for me, that was just, I wanted to include those moments in my content. I wanted it to feel fresh, unique, and kind of just more real in a way. And even hype up, build up the awkwardness to make the comedy element really stand out. So for me, awkwardness is just kind of part of my identity in a way. And I think that's what's so brilliant about YouTube is it allows people to be the real versions of themselves or create the content that they really truly want to be making rather than being given a script by someone else.
That's a huge point. And actually something that I was taken aback is speaking to you guys backstage, you'd think the fact that you have very different types of content, that you'd have nothing in common. Actually, you've got everything in common because you're content creators. And I'm sure many people here would love to know the secret sauce, Hugo. How do you make captivating content that people, especially young people, want to engage with that's political as well?
Yeah, well, I launched the channel 10 years ago because I felt like, so I was interested in politics, which is a weird thing when you're 18 years old, but that's who I was at the time. And I just wanted to, understand what was happening in the world. And whenever I was basically, watching, news program on television, I felt like whether it's like the journalists or like the historians or like the researchers that were invited, were not really talking to me. They were like sort of explaining things, but not for people who want to understand, this topic for the first time. For example, I don't know, at that time in 2016, there was the war going on in Syria, and like I just wanted to understand what was happening over there, and I felt like traditional media were sort of explaining it for someone like me who was like 18 years old and just trying to understand what was happening. And so that's why I launched the channel 10 years ago, and I feel like today what makes the success of the channel is the fact that, of course, we have, some codes, like some YouTube formats, and like you've got to understand that like YouTube is a platform with its own culture, its own way of creating things, and so we try to do things that works well on YouTube, but also in terms of writing the content, the script itself, I'm like super serious on this thing. I like telling my team, like we've got a team of 30 people today, full time, and like I'll tell them like, guys, you've got to do something that will be interesting for people who are passionate about politics, but also for people who want to follow, this topic for the first time, and like he's probably 18 years old, or maybe even older, and like just wants to understand what's happening in the world. And so this is something, we're extremely serious on like making sure it's accessible for everyone.
And Amelia, so much we could almost talk on the back of that, but you have a team as well. It started with one microphone, a voice, and an idea, but yet you've actually got an entire team yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Chicken Shop Date started actually in a youth club in northwest London, where I'm from, and we made a magazine. And so the idea started in this column in this magazine when I was 17, and then it kind of graduated to being a YouTube series. I thought that people should really kind of see the visuals of what the awkwardness and the fun that was happening on these dates in chicken shops. And yeah, I've kind of like, it's been a 10-year journey, a slow burn, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I've created such a engaged, passionate audience through over the 10 years, and now we have a team, and yeah, we're kind of like a fully fledged production company, and I love it.
That's a huge point. You said it was a slow burner, so it wasn't something that just caught fire immediately and you kind of rode the crest of that wave.
No, and I mean, obviously with online content, as everyone knows, like you can go viral immediately, and I've had viral moments for sure over my career, but I'm actually really glad that it has been this 10-year journey, because as I said, I've been able to really kind of cultivate this really passionate audience over a long period of time. I've been able to also really understand what my audience wants and not feel the pressure to kind of be at such a high level from the get-go, which is what happens when you do go viral. It's kind of a pressure that almost not everyone can live up to. So yeah, I'm really glad that it's kind of been over 10 years, like Hugo as well, 10 years.
Yeah, and that's also something like, I remember when I launched the channel a few years ago, well, 10 years ago too, I had like some more traditional media journalists who were like, yeah, but like this thing won't last, like, it's like online, it just goes and it comes and goes. And like we've been doing this for 10 years now. I've got loads of friends, like content creators on other like topics who are like, yeah, have been doing this for years now. And yeah, we can see that, YouTube itself as a platform is just becoming, it was mainstream at the time already, but now it's like even more mainstream. And you've got like young people, older people watching on TV now a lot. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see like how it goes through time.
Because when I started, the same with you, like content didn't exist in the way that it did. I created Chicken Shop Date because I felt like there was a gap in the market for something that was lighthearted and kind of was like comedy skewing, that you were able to find out a different side of a talent's personality. Whereas now I feel like, talent are being asked all kinds of different questions. They have to hang out with puppies, they have to eat something incredibly hot, all of the different things, and it just didn't exist in the same way when I started. So it's been an interesting journey to kind of be growing alongside the changing media landscape, and I feel like now we're at the forefront of entertainment being on YouTube, and yeah, it's just very exciting to see where the future's going to be.
And Hugo, we talk about the word social media influencer. Often the question is, well, what do you influence? Well, it appears that you influence a whole generation. Because of YouTube, 2/3 of all French teenagers use your platform to understand the world better. I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah, and it's a huge, I'm like happy that like it's working, but it's a huge responsibility, and that's also how I see it. And, I don't feel like we changed our content through the years. Like we still have the same approach and the same way of doing, but of course, like we've got now like millions of people. I think it's like 20 million people following across all social media. And the answer to this with me was like to try and recruit and like get a team with me, like hire some journalists, hire editors, and like get a sort of a real newsroom with me to, of course, like do this job the best way we can, because yeah, of course, it's a huge responsibility. And like when you do, interviews of political candidates, or like the Zelensky interview we did last year, or those kind of things, we know why we do it. We feel like it's important to do it, make it accessible, as you were saying earlier. But at the same time, you've got to be like extremely like precise. And I know like people follow our channel to get a sort of a, fact-based. They're not here to see my own opinion on the topics. They're here to get the news and get all this. So my answer to this was to get that team, yeah.
In terms of your guests, Amelia, so it started with Getz back in, I think, 2014. Mm-hmm. Did he know who you were? Was there a relationship there already? Because he immediately was on board with your style.
Well, yeah, Getz is a grime MC from London, and he was the first guest on Chicken Shop Date. I actually interviewed him again for the 10-year anniversary, so 10 years later, and that was amazing. But yeah, he didn't really, well, it was the first episode, so he didn't have any idea about the format. But I think that with Chicken Shop Date in particular, it works so well when the guest has no idea of what they're stepping into, but then it also works when they're a fan of the show. So, for example, Cher, she had no idea what she was stepping into. I think someone from her team just said, you should do this. And she just was completely game. I mean, she's just the most incredible person. And then, for example, Billie Eilish had wanted to come on the show for many years. And so she was a fan and had watched all the episodes previously, and it still worked because the energy was different, but it works either way. So that's what I love about the show. It doesn't, with YouTube, you're in complete creative control. That's the most amazing thing about it. So you, as the creator, can dictate the style, the tone, the length of the episode, literally everything about it. And I feel like that's what makes it such a joy to be on the platform. But I also think that's why young people connect with it in particular, because they see how authentic it is. And I think young people really do just want to feel like they're watching things that are made by the person who is in them. They don't want to feel like there's been lots of producers or creative directors who are, telling someone to say something. They want to feel like it's authored by you, that you're telling the story that you're presenting. And I think that's what people really connect with when they come to YouTube, because it feels authentic, I think is the word.
And in terms of your guests, they are ridiculous. I mean, it's been everyone from Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Jennifer Lawrence, Lando Norris, Louis Theroux, like you mentioned, Cher, Andrew Garfield is an amazing episode. And now, I guess the nature of YouTube is that it's taking over the living room as well as the phone. So these stars who we associate with the TV and the big screen will be on a TV screen almost where they belong. So you are becoming a TV star as well as a YouTube star.
I mean, it's amazing that you can watch YouTube on your television now. I feel like it's just fantastic. And I mean, when I'm making the episodes, I feel like it's so much more than an interview. I see it as, in a way, I see it like as a performance. I'm performing, the guest is performing. We're creating a story, I'm on a mission to meet the love of my life, I haven't done it yet, but, we've still got some time. And I feel like when I'm preparing for the episodes, where I'm researching and I'm writing my questions, I'm thinking about what the story arc of the episode will be. Will we get on, won't we? And then when I'm in the edit, I'm really integral to the edit process. I'm shaping it from, the 1 hour that we film to the 8-minute video that we put out on YouTube. I love every element of the process. I'm very hands-on with it. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm really interested in storytelling, and I think so many people on the platform, that's why that's their love too. And so it's great to now be able to have my love story on television in the YouTube format, yeah.
And so dedicated, by the way, is Amelia. She didn't even watch Mel C DJ last night. You were busy editing.
I'm editing 2 episodes right now. Love Mel C though.
A proper professional. The other end of that spectrum, Hugo, is with what you do. So say, for example, Zelensky. What's the ideal situation? Do you want to have 5 minutes with him? Would you love to have 2 hours with him? I mean, Macron, you sat down with him. Now, essentially, a general election in France can't happen without meeting yourself.
Yeah, I feel like long form is the right way to do it, especially when we're talking about, those topics and like politics and stuff. But even like with, entertainment and like actors and singers, because that's where, they feel usually, at least like actors, like more comfortable to like, talk a lot. And then for politics, it's just more time to, discuss like some serious topics. And I feel like, for example, Zelensky, we were lucky enough, like we had had I think 45 minutes or 1 hour with him in Ukraine to do this interview. And I feel like, today we're managing to get those guys. And also the fact of having the television as a format changes a lot for us too, because before, of course, YouTube was also often seen like when you were on your phone or on a computer, and now the fact of having it on the television mean like people gather together to watch something. I see it, for example, we've got a daily news format on YouTube that we publish every day at 8 o'clock, which is basically a sort of analysis and summary of the news of the day. And people used to listen or watch it like on their phones, and now like I hear more and more people just watching it, as a family together at lunch, at like dinner time or whatever. And so, it also means that like we've got our audience, we still have our young audience who is here and like it's also getting younger, but we get like all the people following the channel too, because they got their television, they just put it on and like they watch it with their family or on their own. And so it's sort of making it way more accessible today.
I guess another side of what you do, Amelia, is the notion of entertainment lends itself to, say, sponsorship or things of that nature. You've been instrumental in speaking to people at C-suite level about not just having, say, YouTubers on their platform, but getting the right voices as well.
Yeah, I think that like advertising plays a big part in YouTube, and I think it's a brilliant part of the platform as well. The fact that as creators we get paid to make our content, which I think is such an amazing thing that YouTube does. I mean, other than any other social media platform, I feel like they really value and respect their creators, which means that you want to be making quality content on the platform because you get rewarded it, not just with views and an audience, but also financially. With Chicken Shop Date in particular, I actually don't do brand partnerships on my within the show, because I kind of want to keep it just really to the authentic conversation. And my brand partnerships that I do kind of like separate to YouTube itself. But there is such a big market to have brand integration within YouTube, and then also obviously the advertising on as well as that.
What was really interesting speaking to yourself, Hugo and Amelia, together is when you say what's next, actually you're not necessarily that fussed about having your own TV show. It's not, that's almost a legacy thinking. What you are talking about are doing things in your own way with your own platform, you in charge.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because last year we've been working with a traditional like French TV channel, France 2, so France Télévisions, and we've been working on a program that was broadcasted on national TV, but also the following week on my own YouTube channel. And it was a way for me to like also bring this content to like a broader audience. And so the interviews we were talking about of like Billie Eilish, and those were also broadcasted on TV. But yeah, that being said, my focus is of course like my YouTube channel, like what we're doing online with my team. I feel like that's the future. It's also like the present for like millions of people today. So I feel like that's where we get, you were saying it earlier, like we get a complete freedom on the way we want to build things. We're lucky enough to have just a comment section, which can sometimes, be intense. People can be intense, but like that's our best way to get to understand, the questions people have, what's going on well on our channel, what they want to see on the channel. And so I also, encourage my team and like my journalists to take some time every day to look at like the comment section and like see what people are asking themselves, see like, what they're saying. And of course, the idea is not to be dependent on like just, react to everything people are saying online, because that would be like a never ending kind of mess. But you've got to, spend some time listening to what people have to say. And often it's some valuable, key takeaway things. So we try and, just build this connection with people following us, and it helps a lot, I think, build the following, the future.
I've had so many meetings about having a television show and like making something on, like redoing MTV news or all of these different things, or making Top of the Pops again. And, I just feel like there's no need. I've got my own show already, but it's on YouTube. So I just don't feel the need to be having those meetings anymore. I just think that the YouTube is entertainment now. Yeah.
So with that said, what does success look like? You put a video out. Are you looking at views? Is it comments, interactions, likes, a viral moment? What would the ideal success be for a video?
What do you think? It's a bit of a mixture of everything, really.
I mean, I can say everyone, I'd say for my channel, it's, I think it is views, because I launched a channel 10 years ago, like to make news accessible and like make news popular in a way that like I want every young people to, just follow what's happening in the world. And not only young people, but like, of course, most people I can. And so the view thing is an important thing. Of course, it's not the only thing. Like we were talking about comments earlier. Like the idea is not just to make views. Like we've got our way of doing our work, our journalistic approach, and like we're extremely serious on like not changing that. But then once we do this, of course, once we do this work, we want to push it forward and like make sure you get many people, just getting informed into what's happening in the world. So I'd say that's something we're looking at to make it popular. Yeah.
To me, success is if I'm in the edit and I've finished editing a video and I think it's good. Like I feel like like that's really to me like the beauty of YouTube as well is that you're completely in control of what you put out there. So I'm not going to upload a video unless I think it's good enough. And I feel like if I'm watching it back and I think it's brilliant, I think it's funny, to me that's success. And
now I think it's time that we can ask you guys in the audience if you've got any questions. These guys are genuinely fascinating people. So if you do put your hands in the air and we'll bring a microphone to yourself. If not, because we've only got a few minutes left, I can happily ask a lot more questions.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Hi there. Amelia, we were chatting last night. I work for Google, and the Andrew Garfield interview that you saw in the clip at the beginning, I really recommend you go and watch it. Not just watch it, but read the comments. Because the comments say things like, I've just watched the best rom-com of 2024. And my favourite comment is, I'm not even remotely lying when I say I've just watched the finest 11 minutes of romance television. So, and what we were talking about, which I don't think you had realised, is that after that episode, Andrew Garfield then started trending on Google search. So not only was the episode really engaged with on YouTube, but then it was reported in traditional media and across the traditional news. And then also people then started searching for him too. Just from a human point of view, how does that make you feel when you think about the overall impact? And this is a question for both of you. Because I can imagine when you first started out, you were experimenting, right? You've just created this new genre of content, whether it's news, whether it's interviewing celebrity people, but in this fried chicken shops around London, in a really unglamorous place, frankly, to have a date. Just share with us a bit about the human journey, because I think that's really, really fascinating.
I would like to say that I never believed in the success of the show or that I thought it could be where it is, but I honestly feel like I always just thought it was going to be the biggest show ever. I just did. I just always, but I think it's just like pure delusion. I think probably everyone in this room, would kind of understand that, to be successful, you do have to be quite deluded in the way you have to just believe in these things that feel unimaginable, and you have to just think that they will really happen. And I just really have always believed in my idea. But it's just taken me longer than I thought. I thought maybe after 1 year I'd be getting like the biggest people in the world on, but no, it took me 10. So I think just things just happen in a different way to how you've imagined, but I've always truly believed in the idea, and it's that motivation in the idea that's kind of kept me going, and also obviously being able to be in creative control and publish on my own terms, and not having to wait for the green light. YouTube makes it so that you don't have to wait to be commissioned. You can just commission yourself. So I've always been very confident.
I think that's a good thing. No, I feel like when I launched a channel 10 years ago, I was like, I know like it can be useful for some people because I'm not the only one who want to get, interested in those topics. And so I was like, it'll probably I was sure like some people would be interested. I was like convinced that like also YouTube as a platform would be a place to get news. Whereas at the time, in 2015, at least in France, there weren't as much, media on YouTube, as much journalism on YouTube. I was like, that makes no sense. I mean, if I'm spending time on YouTube at like 18 years old, there's no way when I'm 28 years old, I'll be just opening, newspaper. For me, it's like, that just doesn't make sense. If something works well on YouTube, you'll stay on YouTube. And so I was like, let's just now bring journalism over there. And then it's again, yeah, you said it's like 10 years is a long journey. So it's weird to think like I've been doing this for 10 years. It's kind of a weird thing.
Because we're so young.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's been a credible journey, and happy to see what will happen next. Yeah.
Well, I think it's safe to say you genuinely fascinating minds that are some of the game changers that you see on YouTube. 3 million subscribers, 5 million subscribers, hundreds of millions of views. But I mentioned at the start, a microphone, a voice, and an idea. One thing I've really taken from the conversation is the dedication as well. And that is obviously the result, is the success that we're seeing here. We could speak to you for an hour. Unfortunately, our time here is up. Let's first of all walk off stage and give a massive round of applause to our special guests of Amelia and Hugo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.